Well, the start is pretty similar. They both went for a mill as the first building. UnfairestEel was just a bit faster in during the bore. And they both have already loom. So, even if it didn't find the stable, it's interesting to see that UnfairestEel already trained 2 spearmen, accompanying its skirmishers. And there is an interesting tower which is gonna be built in this area. I didn't expect the tower being so close to the enemy's tower. I remember one Norman having been trashed by 105 during this competition called ScriptOff. So dealing with one tower should be fine for 105, I guess. But at least it will need to have the access to the gold. More interesting to see that the UnfairestEel's tower is attacking the blue one, while blue is attacking the skirmishers. Okay, that's a pretty good reaction from blue. Unfortunately, it stopped attacking his tower. Alright, we've got a new mining camp in a safe place. It's probably equipment because blue definitely needs some gold. It actually can't train any military, which is a big problem. Okay, we eventually have added archie armor, which might help a bit for the skirmishers to stay alive against the tower. and this is a huge investment in Feudal Age army for red. One Norman is starting to be scary for the opponent. We should see some scorpions soon. Yeah, kill ratio should be at the advantage of one Norman so far. And for the first time we've got an assault from one Norman in the UnfairestEel's economy. Yeah, at this point I think that one Norman is fine. Red is eventually starting to have a decent economy, so it shouldn't be so far from researching Castle Age, but the pressure is starting to be a problem at this point. Okay, Castle Age for UnfairestEel. Is it gonna be too late? And yep, this is too late. Alright. 15 population, it's time to lead this game. Let's have a look at the kill ratio. Yeah, clearly has the advantage of one Norman. 35 minutes to reach Castle Age was definitely what caused the defeat for UnfairestEel. Now I will run the 4v4. So we've got one Norman again. And in the opposite we will have 105, which plays as Celt. And between them we've got two Vietnamese players. ScriptOff bolts. Alright, so Mongol, Viet and Celt, and the opponent will be Mongol. Turkish. Well, it was already Turkish anyway. Viking. And Aztec. Interesting. Alright, good luck both AIs. So before this match, UnfairestEel lost 3-0 against Tribal, and ScriptOff won 2-1 against Phyrex. And I keep thinking that UnfairestEel is stronger than Phyrex, so it's pretty important for ScriptOff to beat UnfairestEel. At least the first game was a victory. In this 4v4 we should be watching a pretty strong UnfairestEel as pockets, because UnfairestEel is a decent AI in Imperial Age especially. So we know that 1 Norman and 105 are not the best AIs in Imperial Age, so Bolt will be pretty important in this game, and I'm pretty sure that that game might length quite long. Let's see. And I will see how UnfairestEel react from Treasure, indeed against 105, and in case UnfairestEel is just failing, I mean, and bugging against the trash, I probably won't run the 2v2 online, because it wouldn't be a pretty interesting game. And then I will go eventually for the server list against Egbert just after this match. But in case UnfairestEel shows that it can handle a trash, so definitely I will go for the 2v2 after this one. I agree, UnfairestEel is not known for being a fast feudal rusher, in fact. But it sometimes go for something else. It's quite versatile. Here it looks like, well, looking at the two stables, okay, it goes for a scout. And I'm happy to see that UnfairestEel does have a decent behavior against rushers, so it means I will run the 2v2 after this one. At least the villagers don't freeze against the toggers. We've got an interesting strategy from Orange, which goes for a monk rush as Aztec, okay. As Viking goes for knights, same as Turkish. So when Norman does have its first knight, and it will face already a few monks. So that's gonna be really interesting. And the funny fact is, blue is not targeting orange. It looks to focus on red. Despite the fact that green and teal being Vietnamese, blue already know who is supposed to be its closest enemy. Okay, the monks are focused on the relics instead of converting the enemy's units. Okay, so orange monk rush is not working as expected. Oh, teal is building its castle to blue's down instead of grey one. And we've got already 2 relics for orange. Alright, at least we've got 2 knights converted from blue. The fact there is no more relic to capture in the back of blue might help orange, I guess. Yeah, I think that orange can be a problem in late game. Maybe scorpions can do something, but now orange does have at least its knight to kill the scorpions. Yeah, Wonder Woman is now quite powerless. The game is turning bad for ScriptOff Team, despite the fact that UnfairestEel is actually playing in 3 versus 4. Grey is not supported by Teal, which decided to build the castle in the wrong place. Let's compare the population. So blue is 56 population, red is 1 population, green 70 with 55 villagers. 4 is already with 90 population, villagers I mean, and so is purple. So in fact the pockets are gonna be quite strong. And it looks like UnfairestEel do like monks. Even purple does have a few of them. Well, overall good job, eventually from blue. Orange lost its small advantage taken. Alright, let's go Bolt. Well, this is a forward siege workshop. So at this point UnfairestEel becomes really scary. Both sides. And I think that UnfairestEel as Turkish was pretty happy with its civilization, especially against 105, which do go for knights. At least Yellow did have a lot of camels in its early assault. And I think that UnfairestEel was scripted between 20 and 12 and 20 and 13, and Juggernaut was scripted 1 year after. And a difference between UnfairestEel and Juggernaut is the fact that UnfairestEel can play a lot of settings that Juggernaut can't handle. And besides this, another difference is Juggernaut is way more aggressive than UnfairestEel, which tends as pockets to stay a bit passive, but the late game is really strong from UnfairestEel, as we can see actually in this game. Yellow looks quite unstoppable. In case UnfairestEel wins this 4v4, I think it's the first time ScriptOff would lose a 4v4 in this tournament. So that's also why winning the 1v1 was pretty important. The 2v2 might be okay because Red did suffer a lot against 105, so I imagine that 2v2 would turn almost the same, and we already know that one Norman do fine against UnfairestEel in 1v1, so it might be okay. And this is a lot of castles. 12 castles all around Bluestown. And we've got almost 30 population for orange. So purple definitely needs some trebuchets. And Bolt is actually doing a good job. Alright, 105 is dead. Yellow is crossing the enemies to reach Blue's town, interesting. We've got bombard towers from UnfairestEel. I remember it's 4v4 against Tribal. The game was pretty close, and UnfairestEel was not too far from defeating Tribal, especially because I remember many bombard towers were built close to Tribal, which lost a lot of its units to fight those towers. So let's say that the routine archers are doing a great job defending Blue's town, and also those castles are helping a lot. What is sad is the fact that one Norman won't be strong in Imperial Age. I think it won't research Imperial Age, so we can't expect much from one Norman at this point of the game. Alright, so we've got trebuchets from yellow, at least we've got 3. Siege rams are coming. It looks like UnfairestEel knows how to deal with castles. Alright, the second castle is falling right now. And we've got the pressure given by the bombard towers close to the trebuchets. That's something which is pretty good from UnfairestEel. What about Teal? Teal is really far from researching Imperial Age. There is actually a lot of food. Gold is missing. It is actually, there is no trade from Teal. And we won't see red coming back in this game. No TC, no villager, nothing. While orange looks to be stuck actually. Yeah, 40 population, but it is booming with 2 TCs. Yeah, it's definitely a 2v2 because blue is actually training a few knights into stables. It is not accruing any resource to research Imperial Age. And we've got 9 remaining castles defending blue. Alright, so yellow is now pressing green. Oh, that's a lot of skirmishers from green. Yeah, this game is turning bad, I would say, for ScriptOff. Bold did great in defending blue, which will survive, but the pressure is actually too big. Even orange is now almost 100 population. So if the game is actually almost 2v2, it might turn 3v2 soon. I'm not counting blue because I don't see blue doing anything in that late game. At least it goes for a bunch of knights. Purple is already defending orange. And we've got the return of monks from orange. I'm not convinced by those skirmishers from green. Alright, at this stage orange and blue do have the same amount of population. Okay, 1 hour game will stay at 4 times the speed now. Okay, green player is now 60 population. Wow, it lost so many villagers which are sent in the center of the map. They are trying to gather resources too far from their town. It is hurting a lot. And okay, so we've got the pressure now from yellow with those bombard towers. Alright, impressive pressure from yellow and purple now. Let's have a look at the population each player. Alright, blue is bugging. Teal is dead. Green is harassed. Okay, GG and UnfairestEel won this. So the score is 1-1. So we will watch the 2v2 now. I'm quite confident for ScriptOff anyway for the 2v2. Thanks to 105 the treasure. So what are going to be the civilizations? We've got Mongol Aztec for UnfairestEel, Mongol Aztec, and Celt and Mongol. Okay. Yeah, overall I think that Bolt did play fine. The issue maybe went from the fact it didn't bolt, the teal player didn't bolt its castle in the good side, but it wouldn't change much at the end because 105 is quite powerless in Imperial Age anyway. It won't research Imperial, so it just would have made some knights. It wouldn't have changed anything, I think. So overall, GG from both teams. So in the 4v4 we saw that UnfairestEel is not too bad against the Treasure, at least it won't have bugs with the villagers freezing under the towers. So he doesn't have any specific strategy to counter the towers, but it won't bug. So I think that this game deserves to be watched. The 1v1 wasn't one-sided. we saw that UnfairestEel did have a good fight against one Norman. So let's see, but I definitely see ScriptOff winning this. Okay, let me tell you which side is. I think it's yellow player. So the Aztec is gonna face Norman. So in previous game we saw that UnfairestEel went for monks as Aztec. But for being quite versatile, I'm not sure it would go for the same strategy this time. So red might be the one trushed if 105 finds the closest enemy, and indeed. So we see that the forest is in the back, which is a good point. Gold is already exposed, but we've got the second gold, which is not too bad. Okay, a ball of fire is found. Here we go for the trash from 105. So previously we saw that UnfairestEel as Mongol would go for a scout rush with a bit late feudal each time. The second tower won't do any damage, we will have to wait for the third one. Well, even the third one won't do anything. And indeed the main gold is selected by UnfairestEel, but it definitely will need to switch for the second gold mine. Alright, so we've got some spearmen, which won't help against the towers. Alright, so this time it won't go for scout rush, but it goes for range units. And as Aztec, it won't go for Monk Rush, it will go for something else. So yeah, it will be interesting to see if UnfairestEel being attacked in the area of its mining camp, if it can build another mining camp in a safer place. It's something a bit sophisticated for an old AI like UnfairestEel. Yeah, it looks like as long as the villagers are not targeted by the towers, they can attack the towers. Actually, it looks like UnfairestEel considers that the towers are attacking the skirmishers instead of the villagers. I definitely would like to see padded archer armor researched by UnfairestEel, because actually the skirmishers die too fast. Well, actually the trash is quite working, despite the fact that we've got 5 towers only. That's already a lot of villagers and units killed. Oh, interesting to see yellow helping green. That's a good news for the red player. And at least we've got Eagle Warriors. Yeah, it's almost 15 villages dead for red. It's a disadvantage now. And green is remained untouched, so it will become pretty strong in early Castle Age with its knights. Blue didn't attempt any attack, I think, at this point. Yeah, so this is a great support from yellow. So I think that ScriptOff now needs to care, because their weakness is the Imperial Age. Yellow is actually far from being Imperial Age, but it needs to be attacked quite soon now. ScriptOff definitely needs to prevent UnfairestEel to develop its economy. And I'm actually surprised why one Norman is not attacking. Maybe because Yellow do have a military advantage. Yellow do have actually 20 military population. And it's almost the case for blue, so I don't see why it doesn't attack. The knight plus the scorpions is exactly what it needs. Alright, I think it's quite lucky for blue to see yellow attacking right now. Blue should win this fight quite easily. Alright, so in fact it was a key. Now yellow do not have any military population, so blue decides to attack. This is a good timing. Red not too far from researching in Castle Age. Let me check. One Norman does have +1 defense. So does green. So the big mistake from UnfairestEel in this match, in this game, was the fact yellow shouldn't have attacked blue. Time to increase a bit the speed. Yeah, there is 10 villagers difference between yellow and blue. Wait, 20 more villager for blue. So this is a huge difference. Alright, yellow did great with his monks. At least it does have now a bunch of knights. Alright, it looks like one Norman is now losing against yellow. I did not expect this. Alright, monks plus pikemen is the unit trained by red, which looks to be a great choice. Oh, one Norman is actually dead. That's crazy because 10 minutes ago I was pretty confident for ScriptOff regarding the civilian populations, but in fact UnfairestEel managed to train a lot of units, military units I mean, and it's actually making a difference. And now green is suffering, especially for having stayed a bit too passive maybe in the early castle age. Well, alright, so well, that's an amazing game from yellow. Unfortunately green lost its town quite too fast compared to red. And red knows how to survive with a safe TC in the yellow's town. Yeah, 44 population for red and 55 for green, and yellow is researching Keeper Age with 3 times more population than green. So it looks like UnfairestEel won it. Well, it was a great game, I would say. It's not the end for ScriptOff, which do have 3 remaining games against Tribal Warrior. So why not? Why not 1 or 2 games taken against Tribal? It could be enough. And we will have UnfairestEel versus Phyrex, which will be pretty important too. Phyrex is a pretty aggressive going for archers and skirmishers. Maybe it can take 1 or 2 games against UnfairestEel. Probably not the 4v4, but 1v1 or 2v2 is definitely possible. But yeah, definitely this game is over. Yeah, definitely at some point when red was reached Castle Age, yellow was quite a low pop compared to green and blue, but it just kept training military population and it turned unstoppable against blue.